Hello, I'm meteorologist Rob Carlmark here with a live update on ABC 10 Plus. This is our streaming app, as I'm sure you are aware of. So, of course, you can download this on your smart TV. If you're watching this on a mobile device, you could download this on your smart TV, just like right there on the bottom next to all the famous ones. You can get ours for free, and then you can get all of our content, local travel. Of course, you can get news and weather updates like this live one, as well as some of our specials, even our weather specials, which we've won Emmys for. So this is going to be a really great resource for you if you live in the area or not. ABC 10 is always on ABC 10 Plus. Now, let's get to the main items. I've got some updated conditions for the fire situation in LA, also some really important perspective. I also have an update on snow because, yes, we are getting snow on Saturday to Sunday. And then also, we could get a little rain locally. I'm not too worried about that, but rain for LA, that is going to be a very welcome thing, and that's coming. That's going to happen this weekend. So let's go ahead and get into some of these items. Now, first of all, I always like to start right off at the top because, we have tools in the toolbox for obviously hourly forecasts and daily and weekly and even monthly. But what about a season? Well, really, some of the only things that we have are long-range computer models, but then also just historical data. And when we have a La Nina pattern, what we typically see are dry conditions for Southern California and wetter than normal for the Pacific Northwest, bordering on far Northern California, okay? Guess where we are right now. Does this look familiar? And here's the important context of what's going on in California. California is a big state, okay? It's massive, both population size and size-wise. And when you describe California as having one type of situation, either being wet or dry, you always have to look at the details. For our local area, Sacramento, Stockton, Modesto, Northern California, we've actually had either average, which is yellow, or above average precipitation, both for rain and for snow. And this is really a key distinction. Everybody south of, I would say, right around I-80 or so, down to Southern California is not only dealing with below average, which is red, but this dark red here is essentially getting almost zero of the historical average. What does that mean? It has not rained in any meaningful way in this part of California since the end of March. So it's not just that, Southern California is dry. That's not the point. Southern California at this moment is as dry as it's ever been this time in January, setting records all over the place, and there's no meaningful moisture in the soil and in much of the vegetation, so it is ripe for fire conditions. But that's just one thing. What you really need for large, destructive, active fires is a lot of wind, and we've had many of those wind events as well. Just to highlight this one more time, this is rain in the bucket, almost meaningless for LA Basin, Palm Springs, and San Diego, a little bit there in Santa Barbara, but that's way below average. Then you start to see the numbers go up because that's where one major atmospheric river cycle really nailed us, and then we are starting to slip below average. Far Northern California is still above average. Yes, Eureka, Redding, right along the top there. This is considered a wet year for them so far, but they are going to start to slip behind. This is something I rarely ever show because obviously this doesn't look good, but this is an important data point in this whole discussion. Did you know that right now, when you add up all the California reservoirs, and this is, by the way, federal, this is state, and these are local reservoirs. Some power companies have their own reservoir to generate power, so that would be considered a local reservoir, and even private as well. When you add these big ones up, what you have is right now we are at 117% of average, not of capacity, which is 71%, because these reservoirs always go down in the wintertime for a couple of reasons. It's usually been about 6 to 7 months since we've seen major rain or snow. That's issue number one. So we have water usage and evaporation. And then also, this is built into the reservoir system. You need this buffer zone. You need space in the reservoirs to absorb large storms. Primarily, the way that a lot of these got built is for water storage and usage and power and recreation, all that stuff. But what really got it over the hump was protection from flooding. And that's what protection from flooding looks like. If a large atmospheric storm came in, they absorb the water, so the rivers and streams and communities downstream don't have to because they likely can't. We have a long history of flooding here in California. The dates, it's almost 10 months, folks, since we've seen any sort of real storm in Southern California, and we're still waiting. Even the one that's coming in on Sunday is great. It's going to help, but it's not likely not going to get over that hump bringing widespread greening up of the grasses and really turning the page on the fire season. You could just see it with your own eyes. You could see all the hills are brown, dead. We're just waiting for things to come together. Now, in the background, they've done some very precise surveys, and now the Eaton Fire, Palisades Fire number 2 and 3 on the list of structures burned. I bring this up because obviously this is very bad. The other part of this is that this all happened essentially on the same day, but also people forget that the Camp Fire was really bad. And before these two, it just leapfrogged far and away as one of those fires that all of a sudden took out an entire community. And now we've seen versions of that again and yet again. Now, one of the main reasons why this is so unusual, and that this is happening, by the way, in January, the Camp Fire happened in November, is that these are the days of Santa Ana wind events, dry offshore fire conditions usually, and the really, really big ones have usually happened in that arc. What does this look like? This is in the middle of winter, but usually we get meaningful rain in the state right around here, October, maybe it's November, sometimes it's December, but usually by January. So we don't really even pay attention to the fire risk for a lot of this until you don't get anything in the bucket all the way through the first half of your primary rain season. Okay, let's talk about our local weather. We've got cold mornings, mild afternoons. This is the way we've been doing it around here lately. And we are going to get some snow. And the snow is kind of a tricky one, and I'll explain that. In addition to the precip that we're looking at, we also have some strong winds, a wind advisory for mostly the coastal range and the Sierra, but I'll explain that in a second. And guess what just happened as of 10 a.m. this morning, so 7 minutes ago, they finally dropped the red flag warning that we've had for 5 days in a row, this entire week. Now they're left with dry air for sure, but a lot of cold weather advisories, watches, things like that. So now they're just dealing with cold mornings and dry air, but at least they don't have the wind. As far as our wind situation, this is what it looks like in Northern California. We've got some strong winds moving in tonight, early tomorrow morning through the day. Breezy and chilly all day long in the valley spots. Gusty, a lot of issues with the wind potentially here for the west side of the valley coastal range. And then watch the Sierra in spots. It's really going to be gusty as well, with gusts up to 40 miles per hour. Each and every morning we've been waking up to poor air quality. We need rain to change that situation, but the wind does actually disperse the concentration momentarily, so it won't be as concentrated and as high pollution levels as we've seen, where it's unhealthy for everybody, because you get that when it's calm winds overnight and the inversion is trapping all the wood burning and smoke particles that we create on a daily basis. Our highs today, very nice. It just doesn't seem like anything's really going to change. Highs in the 60s, just like yesterday, 63 Oakland. We've got temperatures that are mild. By the way, the average high this time of year is 57 degrees, say, for example, in Sacramento, and we've got 62. So we've been 5-6 degrees above normal almost the entire week. So again, the wind situation here is going to be a problem mostly for the higher elevations. If you live in the middle of the valley, it'll be breezy the next couple of days, which is important, but it's a telltale sign that something's up. And this is what's up. Low pressure moving over the top of us, finding some moisture, it wraps around, and then the mountains actually act like a mechanism to wring out, because there's very limited moisture out here, by the way. Whatever's in there, the water vapor in the air, it can lift it up and then produce snow, continued light but fluffy snow on the east side of the Sierra, but it does spill over the top. And this could make it all the way down to areas right around 4,000 to 3,000 feet or so. I don't think all the way down to 49. That would be extremely rare as far as the snowfall chances, but some precip will make it over, and we are looking at both a combination of snow up high and then also some shower chances that could drift over a little bit, and I'll get into more detail on that in just a second. But this is really the main thing. By Sunday morning, it's found a lot more moisture because now it's over the Pacific Ocean partially, and it's just more developed, and that means rain for Southern California. We're looking at 1/4 to 1/2 inch of rain in the mountains, more than that, but it opens things up. Hey, this is a classic winter storm, and this looks like Friday to Saturday, so we're starting to see lines that our storm window is going to open right back up, and we can get back in the game here. I like a week of nice weather in winter, maybe 2 spread out over the whole winter, but you can't keep doing it for 2-3 weeks in a row. You start slipping behind, and this is going to help. This is the Saturday system, again, fairly weak, and then it takes till Sunday to really get going for Southern California. These are the rain totals, precip totals by Monday. And then as we look forward here to the end of next week, then we really start to see some things moving. They're not big storms, but they're certainly going to help with the totals, get things wet again, and just get us back in the game, because we really need that to happen. We only have a limited amount of time here in California where we actually get storms. And you cannot lose January, absolutely cannot lose February. So hopefully February turns the corner and we can turn the spigot back on. That would certainly help everybody out. So that's why I've got some clouds, but more rain chances coming in. For snowpack, still barely hanging on to above average snowpack for the Northern Sierra. We're behind in the Central and Southern Sierra. When you add it up statewide, this is the most important number. This is where we should be by April 1st. If we have 100% by April 1st, then that's considered a full snowpack and we're in good shape. That's about a third of our water supply in any given year. Comes from this number right here. And we're not even halfway there, but remember, we still have a couple more months of prime season. I'm going to switch over to the snow forecast for how we like to enjoy the snow. And that's going to be the Sierra Getting There forecast. As of right now, this is Friday at 10 o'clock in the morning. The roads are in good shape. These are red because they're closed seasonally. In other words, they get too much snow and there's not enough traffic, so they just let them stay unplowed until we get into the spring. But you can still access portions of these, mainly to get to Dodge Ridge ski area, which is 108 right here, or Bear Valley, which is right here. 88 remains open as long as they can plow it and they don't have avalanche issues. Same thing with 50, same thing with 80, same thing with 49. At any rate, I'm not expecting chain controls today. So today's your travel day. But during the day on Saturday, because of the snow, even though it's quote unquote only a couple inches, once you get over to Truckee South Lake Tahoe, if it stalls out and keeps doing its thing, it could start adding up. And I do expect at some point chain controls popping up, at least in those communities, if not up to the mountain passes at some point. So through Saturday, this is what it looks like, light snow. The key thing in all of this, and really the big question mark, is how much falls between Saturday and Sunday, because if it lingers, we're going to add even more snow to it. If it's on the move, then you'll get half of what you're seeing on the screen here. At any rate, expect snow on the roads, icy conditions early Sunday morning as the system is leaving us. You know, even with the gap, I would say, in systems, the resorts are doing their thing. They've got lots of terrain open. It's going to be busy, I promise you that. And these are the expected lifts open, but that could change, of course, due to wind. They do a lot of that, wind holes or just shutting down lifts for the day because it's too windy at the top. So that's the best case scenario. That might happen on your Friday, but through Saturday, just check ahead. Things I think are likely going to be different. There's your snow day on Saturday, left over there on Sunday. Just watch the driving conditions for both of those days. But hey, it's always nice to see snow on a weekend, and that's why I'm expecting it to be very busy. Check ahead on parking. Almost all the resorts either have reservations or paid. It's totally, if you haven't been in a while, it's totally different. It's just the way that it is. Going forward, we do see things warming up, but remember, like I showed you, more storms in the pipeline by the end of next week. So that covers everything in California. Thanks for joining me. I'm Rob Carlmark with ABC 10 Plus.